All right, YouTube, what is up? Welcome to the advanced movement guide for Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. Now, again, past Nestani, if you watch the beginner tutorial, thought this was going to be one video. It's two different videos, so if you haven't watched the beginner tutorial, you should probably check that out before you check this one out, unless you are more advanced, in which case you're ready to rock and roll. This video is going to be covering some of the advanced techniques that, runners like me, Cole, Mortal use. These techniques and really tips, because they're not really any, there's no more movement fundamentals really, but it's more of just like things that you should be looking out for when you are running. And so without further ado, let's just like hop in, get it like hot. So the most notorious thing, this is the first thing I always say to people whenever they're trying to get better at the game. I say, are you rubbing up against a wall or an invisible wall? Walls and invisible walls are notorious for slowing you down. As you can see, I'm running at this speed right now, but as soon as I start hitting the wall, I'm slowing down. You can definitely see that I'm slowing down, even rubbing up against the wall very slightly. I'm losing time rather than if I was just to run straight up without rubbing up against the wall. And this is a really big thing to look out for. Now, in order to avoid rubbing up against walls, I highly recommend you to just take Scooby and just walk into a wall like this, like in any level. It doesn't have to be here. You can do this with any wall ever, and just feel how you slightly slow down while you're rubbing up against a wall. And then after you do that, you can really, whenever you're doing runs, whenever you're practicing certain levels, again, I'm gonna hark back to Hedge 1. It's a really good place where you can literally see and feel when you're slowing down to walls, because there's pretty much no invisible walls in Hedge 1. So anytime you're rubbing up against a wall, you can literally see the wall. And so that's a very good starting ground to really stamp out and get away from the wall. Because even if you kick out a bit wide on your angle, but you are off the wall, you'll actually move faster even though you're going a bit wider than if you were to cut that corner exactly precisely, but you rub up against the wall a little bit. You'll actually move faster if, you have this slightly out angle and you're not rubbing up at all. You also need to look out for invisible walls. This is notorious most in Shock 1. That's probably the easiest place where you can look at it. When you're jumping around those poles, getting around before you get to the flying fish, for example. Then after you do the roof jump and you jump around that corner on the pole, it's very easy to rub up against the invisible walls extending upwards in that level. And Shock 1 is notorious, and like even some more experienced runners have had problems making Rat Cycle because they're rubbing up against walls and they just didn't realize it. And so I would highly recommend you to just really pay attention to whenever you're rubbing up against a wall and try to cut it out, kick it a bit wider, pay attention to when you are rubbing up against a wall, because you really do not want to be touching a wall at all. Now, a big thing for me, this is a thing that I've been talking about a lot recently, but this is my biggest proponent in this game, and that is something known as stick discipline. Now, that might sound a bit odd because you're like, oh yeah, duh, I need to have discipline with my stick in order to move like wherever I want to go. But it's really exasperated in this game because you roll, right? Since you're always rolling in the motion, you are always pretty much always all the way to the right or all the way to the left, and you're rolling all the way up, all the way down, and so you're rubbing up on all of these notches, right? So you're like notch around the controller. A lot of movement in this game is, when you're turning around a corner, you need to move at a specific timing, for the dash. In order to not have your dash go super like wild or crazy, you need to move in a very specific motion and timing to make that dash smooth as you turn a corner. And a lot of the times that includes having your stick sitting in positions that are not notches. So a lot of that is with like your stick in between notches. You really need to be able to move Scooby without the help of a notch, because a lot of tricks in the game and a lot of corners in the game, you actually will want to cut the corner at, not into the direct, let's say the upright notch. You don't want to go direct upright notch. Sometimes you want to go, in between the upright and the right notch, just to get that slightly better angle. And, those slightly better angles can really cut down, a second every single time. You cut down half a second here, a second there, and then all of a sudden, you do that 10 times throughout the run, you've cut down 10 seconds, right? It's a lot of little things that add up over time. And so recognizing when you need to place your stick in between the notches is a big thing. And it's a big separator because most notably one of the hardest tricks to learn in the game is Skull for Void Orb, and that is because as a newer player, a lot of that trick you're actually sitting in between notches in that trick. You're not just going notch, 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 all in Skull for Void Warp. And so sometimes you just need to sit in between that notch and not move at all. You just need this specific angle. Being able to control Scooby without relying on notches is probably one of the most important things to be able to understand, and it's a real big separator. Because again, things like Skull for Void Warp, things like BKE, a lot of those tricks, there are points in those tricks where where your stick needs to be positioned in between a notch. And when it's positioned in between a notch, only then can you get the trick, and that's why a lot of people struggle with those tricks. Another thing I wanted to discuss is quote-unquote dropped inputs, and that is, if you've been playing this game for a while, you've probably experienced something where, you know, you land or you try to jump off or something, and then you know, your input doesn't come out, and then you like don't jump or you don't dash, and then that causes you to not get the movement you want, and then sometimes that can lead you to dying, it can lead you to not be able to collect a snack, whatever it is. And I just wanted to discuss how specifically those happen and why it's a myth and your input didn't drop and you're bad. And that is what I wanted to discuss. Not that harshly, but generally how it is if you ever drop an input is because you inputted it too soon. So if I'm, you know, right here, I'm trying to double jump. I'm tapping A twice. I'm only getting one jump, but if I slow down my A input, right, I get the jump off, right? So, because a lot of times, you know, you might want a instant double jump. Most notably in Coast 3, if you're trying to make Coast 3 cycle, you know, you want this motion in order to collect the snack box in the fastest manner possible. And so it's important to do this and to like spread out the jumps. I'm still getting an instant jump, but because my pace is proper, I'm getting the double jump. If I do it too quickly, I don't get one, right? So you need to have that little bit of patience whenever you're doing double jump, and that's the same for whenever you land. You know, you land, and let's say I land, and I want to charge, and before I land, you know, I'm landing. I'm on the ground when I press the B button here, but my charge doesn't come out. This is because you can't charge until Scooby fully lands on the ground, and you can't jump until Scooby fully lands. You need to have Scooby fully land on the ground, so you have to wait until he's fully grounded before the charge comes out. I do have a tip that is really useful for specifically landing and charging, because I feel like that's when it happens the most often. I see the other runners complain about drop inputs is that their charge didn't come out. Oh, my charge didn't come out. My charge didn't come out. And, you know, since this is the most common one, I actually do have a workaround for it, because it actually afflicted me too. I had a lot of troubles with my charge inputs dropping, but that was just because I was inputting it too soon, right? How you can mediate this is if you've ever seen me play this game, especially as of recent, I always spam the B button. So when you land, you just press it multiple times until the charge input comes out. This is because you can input the charge input, and right, so I press B, my charge input comes out, but I can press B and then I can repress and get the full dash, right? Whenever you land, you can just spam it a couple times until you get, you know, the charge to come out, and then once you get the charge to come out, you know, as soon as you see the charge come out, you just hold the B button again. And so this, you can actually get around dropped inputs like this, and this can help you if you're ever struggling with that. So I just wanted to discuss drop inputs like that. There's that workaround with the charge input, but your input in general, your input never drops. You just inputted it incorrectly at an incorrect time. And this can also happen like whenever you're landing. Sometimes your landing animation, especially when you're landing and turning, is longer because you land at a certain time. This most notably happens in the mastermind fight. But yeah, just wait for your landing animation to fully, you just need to wait until you fully land before you can input a jump or a dash. All right, hello, future Stani here, because past Stani forgot some things. So next I want to talk about frame perfects. Essentially how frame perfects work is that you just hit B dash at something, and then you release the B button, and then you cancel your bonking animation. So normally when you hit something, it's like that, you know, you play it, you know, you sit down on the ground a little bit, you're like, oh. But if you try to get a frame perfect, oh, I didn't get one. If you try to get a frame perfect, round 2, there we go. If you try to get a frame perfect, you can basically just cancel that bonking animation. This can be used from anything to buttons like these, to enemies. You can frame perfect enemies as well. Anything that you can hit with your helmet, you can frame perfect. So generally, you want to be going for frame perfects a lot. The most you'll see it used is mainly here in Lighthouse 1, because you can make a faster cycle if you frame perfect this bottom button, and then you frame perfect the light at the top. And frame perfects are just a good way to really just shave off a second. It saves a second every single time that you are able to do a frame perfect roughly. Certain frame perfects are actually worth more time than others, but for the most part, any frame perfect that you do is about 1 second saved. So, you know, for advanced movement, for saving time, frame perfects is a you know, a good time save to put in your runs. I also wanted to talk about the umbrella. The umbrella is pretty interesting. It's just this thing, you know, it allows you to float, right? That's cool and all, but what I wanted to talk about is something very specific. So if you're running no GGS, or if you're running any percent no GGS, or just any other category in the game where you are using the umbrella a lot, this will be a very good tidbit. It's a very small thing, but it is a very noticeable thing. So let's say I'm here and I jump off of this. You see the speed at which I move, right? I'm just kind of moving at this speed. I fall like that. And basically what the umbrella allows you to do is it allows you to do a fast fall. As you can see, I fall a bit faster than if I were to just be in the air. And so this basically just allows you, you know, open the umbrella, fall, you know, rather than just falling like that. You fall just slightly faster with the umbrella. This is because when you first activate the umbrella and release it, you get a little push down. And so you basically fall a bit faster. And so this is useful for when, you know, you're particularly low to the ground. You can really like get a fast fall and fall a bit faster than if you were to just do a full jump, right? And so it's a very small thing. I just thought it was worth mentioning. It's not good in every scenario. Sometimes you're better off, like if it's a long drop, and generally you probably want to not activate the umbrella but if you're doing like a shorter drop, like if you're doing coast boats with the umbrella, for example, using the umbrella drop and fast falling to the boats is actually slightly faster than just double jumping across the boats in Coast 3. It's a very small thing, but I just wanted to mention it. All right, so next I want to talk about Scooby's falling speed while he's super smashing. So basically, if you super smash, you see I'm falling at this set speed, but if I just jump down, you can see that I'm noticeably falling faster, right? So again, here I'm falling like this, I hit the ground, but wrong one. But if I super smash, it's a lot slower. So generally, if you're dropping down from very high in the air, you don't want to super smash until you are right at your destination. So you want to keep your super smashes as low to the ground as possible. Speaking of super smashes, you can also do this thing where you can like basically super smash without like leaving the ground. And how you do this, how I like to do it, is pressing A and B. Well, obviously you jump and then you super smash, right? But I like to slide from the A to the B button, and you know, sometimes your jump does come out and sometimes that happens, but this can really save you time, especially in places like Creepy 1, for example. When you're trying to ground pound those buttons, it's faster to ride it lower to the ground, because you can just get the super smash off faster and you can keep moving faster rather than jumping all the way up in the air, you know, and then super smashing. Also, with super smashing, I probably should have mentioned it in the basic guide, but you can move in the air while super smashing. Since we're on the topic, we're talking about the super smash. You can move in the air, you know, you can kind of move left, right, doesn't, you know. So you can use that to get a bit of extra distance. We use it in like BKE and stuff. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about with Super Smash. So back to past Nestani. Another small thing I wanted to mention before we get on out of here is skidding. So we don't really know why this happens, but skidding before you enter a door causes Scooby to not have skid frames in the next room. This is most notable after the urn room, for example, where if you skid before you exit the urn room, we will not have the frames in order to slide off the edge and die. But if you if you jump before you enter the door and you cut off your skidding, you will be able to do that. Now this can be extended into some other spots throughout the game. It's just a very small thing, but just like whenever you're entering a door and there's a cutscene that you want to skid through, or just skid a bit forward in, you can gain a little bit of time. This is, it's very small things like, entering Hill 3 in NLE, for example, or like entering Mastermind Room. You can skid a bit forward, you can get a bit more distance, so you can actually move a bit faster. It's a very small thing, but hey, if you want to save, a couple frames, it's a way to save a couple frames. And basically, if you ever want to enter a door without skidding, you're running into a door and you normally press X and then you skid. What you do is you just jump and press X. You just jump X, and then if you just jump, press X, you won't skid and you'll just land, and then you'll be fine. All right, hello again, future Nestani here. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you learned something from the Advanced Movement Guide. And that's all I got. Goodbye.